I'm Peter Faber Johnson, a master potter, artist. I would say that I'm a very curious adventurer. These are a bunch of things that I made a while ago. I broke them up. Here's a teapot of mine. This is something I made at Albion. Made here when we did Raku. Early here. Oh, Jennifer made these rocks. They're all hollow. This is Chester's. Wow. Now this is something that Jennifer and I made. Jennifer would put a coil on, and I'd throw it. And then 2 days later, she'd put a coil on, and I'd throw it. The helmets, yeah. I had an apprentice here, Nikki. I started making these things, and I could see that they were helmets. And so Nikki and I made a lot of helmets. I think I made this part, and maybe Nikki made that part. Nikki, we had a great time. She was going to become a nun and really liked pottery. But then she just became a social worker because that's what she was really interested in as a nun. And I'm just saying, you don't have to be a potter to come here and learn how to do things, examine your thoughts, and push on. I take apprentices and we start with, why are you here? What do you want to know? What are your goals? It's mostly young people. They're at a place in life where they want to do something. They want to understand something. They want to find their place in life.
I came to know about Peter through my now wife, then girlfriend, who is Carol O'Brien. And I was living in the Detroit area at my parents', thinking that I wanted to get back into pottery. I had taken have a BFA in pottery from Michigan State University. And she said, I know a guy that takes apprentices. I remember coming in the door and being a little like, oh, what is this? A lot of pottery, and it was a lot to take in for a second, and I think I just stood here for a minute.
If you just take a class in a room that's all done and you clean it up a little and walk away to your next class, what do you know about the full thing about making pottery? But if you want to be a potter on your own, it's really great to have an apprentice, and they can get the college education from you for basically, I'll work for education. Mm-hmm. So I started out in English, went to anthropology, then to psychology, and finally I majored in art. And down in the basement of the new art building was Richard Leach. He was a master potter, a hell of a guy. He taught me about clay, and I understood that it was the principal ingredient on the surface of the earth. I really took that seriously because I was very interested in the ecological movement. After that, I went to Alfred and was Leach's first student to go to Alfred. He thought I could get there, and he was right. But Dan Rhodes was one of the teachers at Alfred. Had a great time with him. And he had a lot of deep knowledge. And then Val Cushing was my teacher. And he was a wonderful man. And Alfred was wonderful. I've skied all my life, pretty much starting at 5 years old. When I was working, I'd try to go biking or skiing every day, a little. Now I have to rest more, so I go every other day, maybe. As a potter, you're essentially a professional athlete, you know? And you're doing this, and you're doing it as well as you can, as fast as you can, and you have to get good at it. And that's physical education.
You taught me how to cross-country ski. I never stuck with it, but I know how to do it, and that was wonderful and fun. Peter also taught me to kayak a little bit, and that was fun. Not for me, but fun. Another part of studio life was cats. They taught me how to love cats and how to get along with a cat and how to let them do what they're going to do and be a friend to a cat. And so that was another great gift of being here, because now I have my own cats.
Randy is the official greeter. Shows up when the car pulls in.
So here's the kiln. This is a downdraft, two-chambered, gas-fired, high-temperature stoneware kiln. And it's kind of, in some ways, the heart of the studio. This is where everything passes through this twice.
This is the gas, and this is a meter so that I can balance both sides. And these are pretty big burners. And that goes down under the front of this kiln and goes into the big kiln way down in there. And so this is where it exits. So it comes in on the side, comes up. There's a little extra space in the front as a mixing area, and then it goes out through the pottery, down and out. Comes up out of the big kiln, it comes up here, and the same deal exiting there. You make things out of clay, they become dry mud. You put them in the bisque kiln, or the lower temperature chamber, bring that to 1500 degrees, and that changes the clay into ceramic, which is a lot more porous than cement, and that makes it really easy to glaze. Glazes are a suspension in water. The water goes into the body and evaporates and leaves the solids on the surface. So once they're glazed, then they can go in the big glaze chamber, which goes to 2300 degrees, which is a lot hotter, and matures the clay body into a glassy matrix that is waterproof because it's tightened. So it's not glass, but there's glass formed around all the crystalline structure of the ceramic. But basically, it's the design that I call Bomba, or Bombacillidae, which is those birds that are in the grass and they're big round bodies. I'm telling you, this is a great teapot. I like the jade of the green. I like the raw clay itself. I like the iron yellow. I like the cobalt blue and the ash glaze and the spodumene glaze. A little coffee cup with a handle. it just works. I mean, it's got the dump glaze, and this is it's a summer bowl because it's really open. And this one was more like, that is American. This was just a beautiful pot that came out with using these glazes in a reduction fire. Everything worked nice. And this is just a nice pot that has these little little horns, little thorns. So it comes from playing in the pasture land where I grew up in Massachusetts. There were the hawthorn trees, and they have spikes that are that long. And those trees were going to grow big because the cows didn't even like it. And we were terrified of them. That's where that comes from, is the plant world defending itself.
What we have in front of us is really a great array of art, stemming from Peter here on the left, to John and Chica Dix, to another past apprentice, Jennifer, and then some of my work here as well. This is just kind of some of the scope of art that's come out of terrestrial forming over the past 50 years.
What we've got here is a smorgasbord of time. This is all about apprenticeship. While I was doing all of this, my apprentices were doing this kind of thing, and this kind of thing, and this kind of thing over the years.
It is interesting looking at Chica and John's work next to each other, right? You see a married couple, you see artists who trained with the same, mentor, and yet their art totally stands alone. You can still see their energy in each piece, right? Like you look at this and you know that this is Chica's. You look at this and you know that it's John's, right? And
like we can do this. I'd like to introduce the Dixes.
Yes. Who needs wedding toppers when you can put your own custom pottery on top of your cake, right?
Right.
But I do think that's the beauty of when you become an artist, is your work it's a part of you. It is you.
When I first saw this piece, it looks really like she may have made it here.
It definitely, you can see the inspiration.
But these she made somewhere else, and I was so happy. She'd really developed an aesthetic that was her own. And I can tell her pots, from afar.
I think all of this work is so impressive, and what I love about this is I can see, as somebody who's trained with Peter, is I can see Peter's thumbprint through all of these artists. They're all individual, but I see a bit of his soul in this work, right?